Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to pin my video so you get to see me. Okay, let's go back. Okay, guys, we're going to start, and I can still see you guys in the corner. So if you guys want to type in questions and put your hand up, feel free to. So welcome, guys. It's 10 o'clock on July 15th. I'm Dr. Divi. Welcome. We're going to be doing a talk today. Might be half an hour, might be an hour. I'm not sure. It depends on questions and what comes in from you guys on happiness. So today we're going to be talking about living your happiest life ever. That was a topic that I felt guided to teach. So I'm excited you guys are here. And again, thank you everyone, whether you're watching live or recorded, for moving the day over. I really, really appreciate that. That really helped me. So welcome, guys. So when I was prepping for this class today, I was getting a fair number of downloads about what we're going to teach today. And where we want to start is the definition of happiness. And so happiness, when I looked it up prior to us starting today's call, can be defined in lots of ways. But one of the ways that Wikipedia defines it is a state of optimism, a state of ease, a state of positivity is what they define as happiness. But it's a state that also can come and go. Okay. And I want to just clear up some mindset that thinks that we have to be happy all the time, that it's a right or wrong thing to be happy all the time. And sometimes we can, especially when we enter into this work or this way of thinking, there's this almost like, well, are you happy? Are you not happy? Are you doing it right, doing it wrong? So I think there's a fair amount of kind of heaviness that we carry around about getting happiness right or getting it wrong. And what that often does is it creates a lot of heaviness or a burden almost to our system that we're doing it right or wrong. But what if happiness is just a state of mind, a state of energy, a state of being, and it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about what feels better or not. And something that I got guided to say, as again, I was prepping for today's class, was that all of this work is just about that constant choice, the choosing to what feels better and what doesn't feel better, choosing that I'm choosing this or choosing that. And sometimes we can get it into our heads that it has to be a certain way. So I want to open that up before we start. Before we go any further, I'm getting God to take us into just a really short meditation to bring us together. So if you're driving, of course, pull over. But if you're not driving, I think a lot of you guys are sitting behind your computers, gently close your eyes. And just for a moment, be present. Just close your eyes and be present. And take all of your focus inwards. Take your focus inwards to your belly. And just focus on those low, slow flows of breath in and out. Allowing your belly to be loose. Allow it to hang. And allowing your breath to be quiet and still. Slow breath in. Deep breath out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Just noticing a few of you, the mind is struggling to stay here. A few of you are like really settling into it. It's not right or wrong, just noticing what the mind makes it mean to be in the struggle or to be in the ease. For some of you, it may help you to put your hand on your belly button and just let go. Just see what it's like to let go. Are you willing to just be in your body and let go? There you go. For a lot of you, that really helped. Just be in your body. And notice how much of you is resisting just being in this moment right now. There you go. Perfect. A lot of you guys got there, just not perfect. Now we're going to use your breath to go into a little bit more deep meditation, then resume to the topic. So everyone together as a group, take an exhale. And inhale for 1, 2, 3. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at the pauses, inhale for 1, 2, 3, pause. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, pause. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. Keep that rhythm of breath slow and easy, deep and calm going. Really make your mental focus to pin or to hook to those pauses. Those pauses will stop the mind craziness and it will settle you into your body a lot easier. Breathing slowly and deeply, calmly and easily at your own pace, and focusing on that pause. What is happening in that pause is all thought is ceasing, and you are vibrationally hooking into the part of you of infinite consciousness, of divine ease, of connection of who you are. Just focusing on that hook, that quiet, and that connection. Really good, guys. Really, really good work. Take another few breaths before you come back. And just notice if you're microscopically even a little bit more connected or calm or quiet inside, just microscopically. That little microscopic movement forward towards feeling a little bit more calm and connected is really the work. And the more you focus on that small shift to feeling a little bit better, you'll continue to do that. And whenever you're ready, feel free to join back. Open your eyes if you wish, coming back. So if we jump back into the topic of happiness, just a reminder on a couple kind of principles of the work that I teach. Everything on the outside world is a direct mirror or of an energetic vibration to what's happening in the inside world. If we're looking for something outside and we keep looking for it and we don't see it there, it's because we're not willing to see on the inside. And say it in a different way, if something's occurring on the outside that doesn't make us happy or makes us miserable, then we want to look on the inside what may be causing that. So if you guys can remember, all of the work is on the inner plane, and the outer plane is the reflection of the inner plane. Okay. There's another expression that's often used, as above, so below, as within, so without. So everything outside is a mirror of something that's going on in here. So what we're often taught in our world is that happiness will come when we get married, get a house, have a kid, and all those kinds of things, right? But then a lot of us, especially those of us from the call or listening to the recording, have hit those quote-unquote milestones, and that ethereal happiness that we're taught that we're striving for is always outside of us. And even the concept that we have to strive for it and it's a goal to reach means that it's outside of us. So I just want you to sit with that for a minute. And the question that I want you to ask you before you even keep going is it really outside of you or is it inside of you? So take a breath with that for a second. Is what you're looking for outside of you or inside of you? And what I'd open up to you is that what you are looking for is actually inside of you. It's not outside of you. So everything is in here. So just keeping that in mind as we move forward. So happiness is essentially, as I read to you guys earlier from Wikipedia, is a state of mind, a state of optimism, a state of ease, and a state of what they call in the Wikipedia dictionary is a profound level of joy. That's the natural word that they've used. Now the thing is, as most of you know, I've taught you guys, a lot of you guys this before, I like to think of our mind as compartments, like little pie shells. And the overall theme of the whole pie shells is happiness and joy. Just think of that for a sec. You have a whole pie shell, but the overall theme is happiness and joy. In each pie shell, I like to think, represents different parts of our personality, different parts of our way of being. But sometimes we'll end up in a pie shell that causes us to sink and really causes us to go down. And we're like, well, we're not happy here, Divi. How can you say there's an elusive part of us that is happy? Well, each of those parts of our pie shell that maybe make us think or make us not as quote unquote happy are all protective mechanisms. And I'll get into that in just a few minutes. But I want you to understand before I keep going that the core of who you are is ease, is potential, is connection, is hope, and is joy. That's the core of who you are. And the core of every person on the planet, every animal in the kingdom of animals has that energy, because all of it is of the energy of love. Now I'm going to keep going and say a couple of little other things. And I'd like you to imagine next, before I keep going, that it's almost like all of us carry around a molecule. I like to think of it as the size of, say, a baseball or a soccer ball. And each of us have exactly the same thing. So each of us on the call, live or recorded, Mary Wayne, Shirley, Francis, Angie, we all have that same ball. So when we're looking outside of us at every single person, the plant, the tree, the car, everything, every blade of grass, every sand, every person singing at the Folk Fest today, the soccer match that's going on today, every single person has that ethereal energy ball inside of them. So just take that in for a second. Visualize inside of you is a beautiful ball that exists in everyone that you're connected with. Every person, every place, every animal, every tree, plant, species that you run into has that ball of energy. Now you can label that ball of energy love, God, universe, the divine. But I want you to imagine or sense or see or feel that that ball is inside of you right now. Right now. And before we go any further, I invite you, if you've got something in your room or outside that is alive, maybe an animal, a tree, a plant, a fish, anything, I want you to just stare at it for a quick second. Outside of my window, I have a tree. Maybe it's something on the TV that's alive. But I want you to look at that tree, plant, dog, cat, just for a few minutes. So don't do this with another human. I want you to do this with something like a tree or an animal right now. And I want you to stare at that. Take a few breaths. And I want you to imagine, sense, see, or feel that beautiful ball that I was describing earlier, that beautiful soccer ball that's inside of you that makes you you, is inside that tree. It's inside that plant. It's inside that animal. So I just want you to check into that. It is inside of you. Just be in that for a minute. And it's inside that tree. It's inside that animal. And see if you can soften your eyes to start to see that and to start to be with that. That beautiful golden ball of light that's inside of you is in this thing you're looking at right now. And just notice how that feels as you do that. Just check in with your physical body, how that feels. That part of me that's there actually has the identical energy inside of me. And the longer you're going to do this, the longer you practice this focus, the more calm that's going to come over your body. Everything, consciousness by definition is focus of thought, focus of energy. So if I focus on this beautiful tree outside and I see that beautiful golden light inside of it, it's inside of me too. Now for a lot of you, everyone who's listening live, you've clicked into that energy. And some of you are still so focused and others of you have popped out. That's totally normal. Because after a while, our mind thinks this is boring. But when you start to practice this, you with something like a tree or an animal or a fish or something, then it's going to get easier to practice this with humans. Because what would it be like to move through your life actually seeing in others that light that's inside of you that I've labeled as this golden ball? So take that in for a quick second. What would my life be like if I could see everyone in my experience having that same beautiful light that I have? Wow, eh? It's pretty powerful. Through doing exercises like this, by taking our conscious mind and focusing on something very deliberate, what starts to happen is we start to notice that everything outside of us actually is the same as us. Now, they may be making different choices, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Don't worry, guys, we're going to get there. But what I'm teaching you guys, most of you have heard before. Either through some teaching, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, we've all heard it before. We're all the same. We're all divine love. But to take that thought and take it into a practice and intention requires you to think in a different way than the separate way that we're taught of being. I'm going to give you one other example, one other parallel, and then I'm going to loop back to the happiness. So the second kind of visual that the guides want me to take you into. I want you to imagine a beautiful tree. I don't care if it's an oak tree, a pine tree, your favorite herb tree. I don't care which tree you use. Just pick a tree. Now, you can keep your eyes open or eyes closed. That tree represents what some humans call God, the divine, universal energy. And I want you to imagine, sense, or see that through the sap that moves through the tree, through every part that moves through the tree, is that divine energy of light. Just see that in your mind's eye for a second. Just think of that. It's coursing through this tree is vitality and light. And all of that energy through this tree that we call, that I'm going to call, this is just the light that we're calling the divine. Call it God. Call this tree God. Call it whatever you want. And you can see how coursing through all the branches is the energy that's called the divine. Now take a breath. I want you to imagine that all you are as a human, as a Shirley, as a Patricia, as a Marina, is just a branch of that tree. So through the coursing through your body with every breath, with every cell, with every heartbeat, is that same energy in the tree that we just labeled the divine. See how that feels? Very similar to the example, the exercise I did before with the ball. Take a few breaths into that concept. This tree that I have labeled as the divine, the energy of source, that courses through it, the sap and all of the energy of love, that energy, I am a branch of that tree. So that which is in this bigger tree is also in me. So see that as a visual. Now, before you go on, see the next branch over as a visual of someone in your life. Your partner, your friend, your kid, someone, your boss, your coworker. Every person that you interact with comes from the same divine tree that you've just focused on. Take a few breaths and check in how that feels. It's pretty cool, isn't it? It's a cool idea to think that what is within me is within everyone. The key that's about different that I want you to really get while I'm taking time teaching you this is because until you feel it, it is just a mental cerebral concept. And that's why I'm going super slow, very deliberately, because a mental soul concept is something I can read in a book. And I can read it, but it has no impact on me because it's just a thought. But as soon as you get into a feeling, the golden ball of light, this beautiful tree with sap in it, and you feel it in your body, that's where the changes occur. That's where the magic occurs when you start to see that that which is in that is also in me. And that in itself is beautiful and amazing and incredible. So I just want you to sit with that before I keep going. Is that amazing to think about that? Now let's go from there to this happiness concept. Everything that everyone does for one reason. And they do it because they think that they will be happy in the occurrence of it. So everyone that you're going to encounter today on this beautiful Sunday in July, that let's just say you're walking on the street and you see someone across the street being very angry. What our human minds do is we label that as wrong. And we label the person on this side of the street who's happy and joyful and skipping with their kids as right. And as soon as we can shift this label of right and wrong from opposite sides of the street, that's where a lot of magic and power starts. The person across the street who's angry, versus the person on our side of the street who's skipping and happy. One isn't better and one isn't worse. So just take that in for a second. One just feels better than another. That's it. The person who's skipping with their kids and singing a song, that experience feels better. Now, the person who's angry across the street has every reason to believe that that anger is helping them. Because when they were younger, the anger was necessary for whatever reason. Or when they were a teenager, that anger was therapeutic for whatever reason they went through. And each human has that. And they express the anger because they think that through expression of this, I will feel better. But as people watching them, and we are upset with them or angry with them, we're taking away our happiness quotient. We're taking away our pleasure quotient. We're taking away our quotient of feeling okay in this moment. Just think about that. In the moment that you label them as wrong and the person on your side of the street is right, you literally gave them the reason for your happiness or upsetness. It's really that simple. You're saying, here's my happiness quotient, you can have it. Versus when you just see them and you actually look at them and go, wow, I'm so happy that you have an emotion, be it anger, be it whatever, fear, whatever. That is a beautiful thing. And you just literally bow your head to it and say, wow, thank you for showing up in the world that way. Do you see how all of a sudden you haven't given up your happiness quotient? You haven't given up part of yourself to say that they're wrong? That simple technique of not making somebody wrong on that side of the street or this side of the street is right actually preserves your energy and actually increases your energy to a greater, what again Wikipedia calls optimism and joy component, because you're not giving up any part of yourself. But it's not like you're holding back and, oh, I'm angry at them, but I'm not going to show it. And it's not like you're labeling as angry and don't want to see that you're labeling. You're actually blessing them for their emotion. See the difference? Check in how that feels. Just see how that feels in your body. And I want to check in if anyone has any comments or questions about that before I keep going. So the person across the street who just had an affair, or the person across the street who just got mad at you, can you look at them and bless them for what their experience is? And just be with that. And again, if there's any comments, because I can't see y'all right now, just type it into the computer. Otherwise, we'll just keep going here. So that is a practice that I find is absolutely critical for our happiness level, is to actually spend time blessing others for exactly what their choice is in this moment. Think of how different you might feel if you're not constantly giving up part of yourself in terms of judgment, anger, resentment, labeling right and wrong, simply by acknowledging what this person's up to in their life and blessing them for their choices. Can you see the difference? Okay, so I'll just keep going because there's no comments. Keep going. So now the next thing they want me to teach you. Happiness is simply a state of mind. And I started off by saying that there's not this thought that you're meant to be happy all the time. It's not like that. It's not like, oh, I need to be happy all the time. Most of you know that I teach often using some of the Abraham Hicks work, where they talk about contrast. Contrast is simply that which we don't want. Contrast is a gift, because contrast, when we run into something we don't want, it gives a gift of what we do want. But the contrast never ends, it never gets old, and it never gets boring. It's always a wonderful thing. One of the reasons I was so tired yesterday was because whenever you do a first of something, like the first time you kiss somebody, or the first time you have sex, or the first time you get married, there's a lot of energy there going into it, right? I don't know about you guys, but I remember the first time I kissed somebody, there was a ton of energy before and after, right? So last week was a first for me. Doing national TV was a first for me. My poor husband was laughing at me. He's like, Divi, you went through this the first time you did Province TV. Then you went through this when you did your TED Talk. And you're going through it again. I'm like, I know. It's a first. So it's a lot of energy that goes into something. Like, so imagine the first time you ever went to a job interview, that you have a job you wanted. Just think of how much energy that took up, right? But that doesn't mean it was wrong. And I put this quote in quotes. I'm giving you an example of my own life. Doesn't mean it was wrong that I was anxious. Doesn't mean that I was wrong that I was nervous. Doesn't mean that I was wrong about any of that stuff. Do you guys understand? Because that contrast of that anxiety was super important. Super important. And I'll tell you why it was important in this specific example. So I went through a lot of stuff from anxiety to, oh my gosh, like on and off for about 3 weeks prior, not consistently, it was on and off. Got more and more as I got closer. But because the work I do and the techniques I use and the tools I do all the time, then when I'm on TV and I get anxious and my heart rate goes, then I can use a technique in that moment to calm it down, like in that second. The feedback I got from the producer and the hosts and the cameraman was like, we've never seen anyone who's so calm and can answer questions so deliberately and focused and so doesn't lose their center. That was the feedback. It's the feedback I generally get from TV, but I got a lot from this show. And I'll tell you the reason why was because I had practiced being in the anxiety for the weeks prior. I had practiced something called light body. I was breathing, I was present. And in the moment, I was just being present to love. So your contrast of your anger, your sadness, your worry, your resentment, they're gifts from the divine for what your life is all about. Does that make sense? So when you work through it right now and you work with that energy, rather than wrestling it, what if you learn to shine light on it and love on it? Then when you do step on stage or when you do go on that first date or you do put that ring on your finger, you don't fall apart. But you're like, oh, this contrast was so much a gift. And I think that's like the hardest thing for a lot of people to get, because we have this conversation that says we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be joyful all the time. And that is just not true. Happiness is a state of focus and mind, of ease. And I'm going to take it 3 steps further. Contrast, the things that we don't want, often make us upset, make us angry, take us off our rocker, make us worried, make us overwhelmed. But again, contrast is a gift, because contrast is simply telling us what we don't want. But in that moment, it tells us what we do want. And it literally is that focused thought to what I do want and the thinking that I can have it. Wow, the contrast creates clarity. If I was to summarize this topic on how to live a happier life, it would be 1 sentence. Connect with your divine. That's it. Hook up to your divine. We're going to do some exercises in a few minutes to take us there. It's just hook up to your divine. That's all I would say over and over and over again. But when you're in the contrast, when the money in the bank account is minus 300, when your partner's had an affair, when your health is falling apart, when all of those things are happening, Divi, how can I hook to the divine? And we never beat ourselves up for those things. Within our breath, within the surgence of the cells in our body, is our connection with the divine I am. Okay, I'm going to take a quote from The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. There's a quote in there that says something like, and again, I'm paraphrasing, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it pretty close. Oh, wait, it just came in and then it went. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull it back in here. The divine consciousness that I am is forever expressing its true nature of abundance. And I want you to replace abundance, the word abundance, with money, health, wealth, love. So the divine consciousness that I am, the divine I am is always expressing its true nature of abundance. Its true nature of health, ease, joy, happiness, whatever you want to use. The divine consciousness that I am is forever expressing it. That is its job, not mine. That's its job, not mine. My only job is to be aware of it. Therefore, I am totally comfortable in letting go and letting the divine take care of my abundance. And again, I'm paraphrasing that. But what I want you to understand, that conversation, that quote, is that everything is in here. Everything I want is in here. I think I want it out there. I think I want it in the house, in the health, in the relationship, in the bank account, but it's all in here. And if I can put my perception that it's in here, then it can occur out there. But first we need to perceive that it's within us. So take a few breaths for that for a quick minute before I keep going on this happiness conversation. And again, feel free to type in questions, comments if you've got any as we're going here. Okay, nothing coming in, so I'll just keep going. Okay. When we know or are aware that our divine always has our back and has never left our side, then our ability to connect and be in that energy of love is forevermore there. So just think about that. If we're willing to realize that our divine has never left our back, that our divine always has us, then we can be happy, connected, and always in the space of grace and love, because it's within us. Our soul, our divine is within us. And what if that is all the work we have to do? And we have all these subpersonalities, those pod pieces I was referring to earlier, that get us all caught up into these stories of confusion, boredom, overwhelmment, anger, worry. And all of these subpersonalities that I call these pie pieces of anger, worry, overwhelmment, and so on, all of these pie pieces are divine energy of the divine for the divine. I love that expression. All of these pie pieces, the part of me that's angry, the part of me that doesn't think I'm good enough, the part of me that's mad, the part of me that's overwhelmed, the part of me that gets confused, all of these parts of me are of the divine energy for one reason, for the expression of the divine energy. So what if there is nothing wrong with our anger, our sadness, our overwhelmment, but what if it's all for just the greater expression of who we are on the planet? Take that in for a second. Guys are saying they've all got it. Awesome. Saying keep going. So true happiness, and I told you guys this might just take half an hour depending on your questions. Happiness is literally a state of focus. That's all it is. It's a state of focus of our alignment or not. And our alignment or not within ourselves is really what this is all about. Are we willing to focus on who we are on a true, etheric, non-physical level? Guys, want me to ask you guys a question? And you might want to type this in or just come up with an answer. I'll probably be able to hear it or sense it. And again, you don't need to type it in. This is more a question for yourself. Do you believe that there is more than just you in this physical? And obviously, if you're on a call that I'm hosting, you probably do. Do you believe that that part of you that is non-physical has your back 1,000%? And do you believe you're allowed to have all of the pie pieces in your head, the anger, the resentment, the overwhelmment, the sadness, the boredom? All of them are beautiful. But can you all see their beautiful energies of the divine? There's nothing wrong with them. So what if happiness, to use that word, is to step out of them and see them and to not make any of them wrong? And when we're stepping in, our feet are stepping into that confusion, stepping into that overwhelmment, just go, oh yeah, that's all this is. There's nothing wrong or serious. This is not a big deal. And when our feet are in the mud pile of that sadness or worry, if we can at least remind ourselves on one little hairline, one little eyebrow line, one little tiny piece goes, I know there's part of me that's easily not in the sinkhole right now. I know there's part of me that knows that I am love and that this is a temporary experience and that is okay. And the more we can remind ourselves when we're in the sinkhole of one of these pie pieces, the easier it is to step out of it. The guys have just paused and stopped. I want to check in because we might wrap up a bit early because no one's got a lot. I want to check in if there's any questions, how that's feeling for you, where you guys are at. And I think I'm going to take you to meditation before we wrap up. Are there any questions? What's going on for you guys? We're all good? Just type them in because I can't see all of you. That'd be awesome. Type them in if there is anything. I'll unmute you if you want to be heard. Okay. There's nothing coming in. Okay. So let's close our eyes for a second. Oh, wait, there is. Oh, good. Oh, you're welcome, Rena. No problem at all. You're so welcome. So she just typed in, it's great information, powerful. You're so welcome. Yeah, because a lot of times you can't read those questions when it's on the YouTube or whatever. All right, so close your eyes, guys. And I'm going to say a few statements, and I want you to say them to yourself in the first person affirmative. I am allowed to be me. I am the divine expression of love. I am love, divine energy in a human body. The divine energy of the spirit that we call love courses through my cells, courses through my body like sap that courses through the branches of a tree. I have permission to feel this energy. It's always there. All I need to do is lean into it. And as I lean into it, I feel ease, optimism, happiness, and joy. Everything that I think I desire on the outer world is actually on the inner world. I am a being of love and light and connection and hope. So just say that to yourself a few times. Pick whichever statement resonated the most. If you've forgotten them, don't worry about them. Just I am that light. See that sap moving through the body. See that ball of light inside of you that was in the tree or in the animal. And just be in that for a few minutes. I am that light. I have permission to be that light. Take a few more breaths. And then when you're ready, gently return. So before I wrap up, I want to make sure there's no other questions. I want to just give you guys 2 or 3 pieces of homework that really help with this happiness conversation. First off, stop making yourself wrong. Second technique I gave you guys earlier was to really bless people and their emotions. Not making anyone wrong, especially the ones that you love the most for what they're going through. What if you bless somebody else for their fear? What if you bless somebody else for their anger? Just in your head. You don't have to do what I'm doing. Just in your head. What if you thank them for showing up annoyed? What a gift, eh? Like, holy cow. What a gift. That's one piece of homework. Second piece of homework on this happiness conversation is that visual we did at the beginning where we saw that golden light inside of us and the golden light inside of everyone else. And just practice that. The divine, the God that's in me is in this person who just rode their bike across. Somebody just rode their bike in front of our place. Wow, the divine is in them. Can I see that? Even though I may never meet them in my entire life ever. Can I just see that? What happens when I start to do that? Is that cool? A cool idea? Just try to practice that one. The third piece of homework from the happiness conversation is to see all parts of us as beautiful formations of the divine. The angry side of us, the overwhelmed side of us, the resentful side of us, the fearful side of us. They're all of the divine for the divine. And just breathe. The last piece they want me to remind you is that when your foot does feel like it's going into a sinkhole of overwhelmment, confusion, anxiety, just let yourself go there. Nothing wrong or serious. Don't pull yourself out. Just go, oh yeah, here I go. And just remember, there's a hook of love that's got you. That's all you got to do. If I see that, no big deal. This too will pass. All right. Before we wrap up, I'll just check in if there's any questions, comments. I knew today would be a little bit short because they wanted me to take you through those little exercises that we did and see if there's any questions. I had a feeling the last couple of webinars, no one's been asking questions, so I had a feeling there would be a ton. So I think our last one of this series is I think it's in 2 weeks. I can't remember. I think it's the 28th, I think. I think it's 2 weeks as of yesterday. I'm pretty sure it is. But I think that was all I was going to say. Any comments, questions? You guys are good? Awesome, guys. I got the thumbs up. Love you guys so much. I hope you have the best Sunday ever. Oh, social appearance was also great. The audience looked very interested. I know. I agree, Marina. They were like looking like they were thinking about it. I know. I agree. Thanks, honey. Okay, so guys, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Have the best, or earlier, have the best, beautiful Sunday ever. It's gorgeous out there. You're welcome, Trisha. Love you guys so much. Have the best day. And have a fantastic day, Shirley. You too. See you guys. Chat soon.